So far there hasn't been anything that has worried me. We are starting the conversation on appropriateness. I really hope that he gets a knowledge and understanding of personal space with other persons going through puberty, whether it's a sexual expression or just a friendship expression.
Consent for me would mean understanding your own boundaries, but particularly understanding other people's boundaries. And it doesn't really matter, what that relates to.
Because my son is so gentle and passive around others and verges on shyness, I haven't had to kind of pull him up or take him aside and say, hey mate, next time when you're in this situation. So I have been fortunate, but I mean, he is quite early in his teenage years, so I'm guessing within the next 1 to 2 years, those kind of discussions will need to be spoken about, particularly as he develops friendship circles.
But a way of helping equip my daughter with some of the skills is to give her a voice to say no. And so I worked on that actively. I'd get up and we'd stand and I'd show her how to say no. I'd let her know this is my body, that there's only certain times that people are allowed to touch her.
I guess some of the non-verbal cues that we've used over the years have been, obviously visual things. So you might give a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
She'll push away. She'll just say no, and I've watched her body, it's really quite beautiful. She'll stand up and it's like, she's really grounding herself and she's owning where she's standing. And for me, that speaks volumes. So she doesn't have to just rely on the verbal.
So everything has to be discussed explicitly. Similarly with physical contact with me or physical contact with other people.
As far as it comes to consent with receiving a hug, he says no to me now, which is shocking. Like every parent, the minute they push you away and say no, that has been the hardest. He is quite clear on other family members to me. He will and will not accept physical touch, whether that is a hug or a kiss or some kind of greeting. So once that is known, I do mention that to the relative. Normally how he'll voice whether he wants to engage with consent, say with other family members, is he will come aside or he'll go very quiet and sulky, not distressed but quite sulky, and then it'll take a conversation between us and he will repeat it again and again. So from his mother's side, which is Italian and very affectionate and friendly, generally speaking he responds to that. I think he sees that as a cultural norm of sorts that he goes along with.
And look, I'm from a large family, 1 of 10, so there's so many of us, uncles and aunties, nieces and nephews, and so really mindful about hugging and inappropriate, a little bit too close, and so she has the right, as do my boys, to say no, I don't want to hug. Basically is to look at every single person has human rights and to respect that dignity, and that regardless of a disability, that consent is a human right to be able to say no. And every child is going to communicate that differently. And so it's to really know your child really well and to respect that.